Is Kanye West a billionaire? On today's show, the Canadian CPA Josh Spurrell joins us to teach how to figure out your personal net worth, how much your business is worth, and mortgage banker Steve Currington joins us to teach how to determine how much of a mortgage you qualify for. And then Josh Spurrell blows our minds by helping us to determine how much money Kanye West is actually worth.
Get ready to enter the Thrive Time Show.
We started from the bottom, now we hit. We started from the bottom and we'll show you how to get here. We started from the bottom, now we hit. We started from the bottom, now we hit.
We started from the bottom, now we're on the top. Teaching you the systems to get what we got. Colton Dixon's on the hooks, I break down the books. Z's bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of five, that's why I'm alive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the C and Z up on your radio. And now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
We started from the bottom, now we hit. We started from the bottom and we'll show you how to get here.
Yes, and yes. Thrive Nation, it is a very special occasion because on today's show, we're going to talk about how to determine your net worth. And is Kanye West a billionaire with Canada's highest rated and most reviewed CPA? Josh Spurrell, how are you, sir?
Doing great, Clay. Fired up for this one. This is an important issue.
Hey, real quick, are you aware of the rabies issue we have going up there in Canada right now? Are you concerned at all? Are you okay? Are you okay? Have you been avoiding the bats?
The rabies issue. I'm more concerned about the socialists blocking the railways. I haven't heard about the rabies.
Are socialists actually blocking the railways right now?
Yeah. The socialists are blocking the railways, and in Eastern Canada, they're trying desperately how to figure it out. And in Western Canada, people are just showing up with pickups and unblocking them. It's amazing how it works out. So,
I was going to say, do socialists know that trains are bigger than they are?
Apparently not. Yeah. So.
I want to make sure I'm getting this. You're saying that socialists are literally right now blocking the railways in Canada?
100%. Yes.
How many people are blocking these railways?
Oh, I don't know. There's blockades all across the country with the railways. Yeah.
Seriously?
Yes.
Well, this just in. I had no idea that was happening, my friend. That you have already enlightened us and taken the show to a level of excellence that I was not prepared to go to. Hey, I have a question. In Canada, can you just run over socialists with a train?
I'm not sure how much.
That's my resolution. My resolution is just keep on going. Keep on going.
I know here you used to be able to as long as you had like a big twisty mustache and a top hat, but if you tied them to the railroad tracks.
Oh, right. Oh, my bad. Okay. So now we're talking today about is Kanye West a billionaire and really how to determine your net worth. Let's get into it, Spurrell. What do you have for us?
Well, Clay, knowing your net worth can be essential for entrepreneurs to effectively plan retirement or obtain business and personal financing from a bank. I know, Clay, your goal is to mentor millions. Your goal is to help the everyday entrepreneur achieve time freedom and financial freedom. And one of those everyday entrepreneurs who's struggling right now is Kanye West. I think Forbes is unnecessarily hating on Kanye, saying he's worth a mere $240 million. I think we need to come together right now, you out in Oklahoma with your guns and your gold, and me here in Canada with my eagle in public health care. And we need to help defend Kanye, his billionaire street cred. If we don't help Kanye, Clay, who will?
This is true.
Would you be willing? Yes.
So you're saying that it's up to us to on today's show. You're saying you believe that as a CPA, as the highest rated and most reviewed CPA in Canada, you believe that Kanye is a billionaire?
With wild assumptions, yes.
Okay. Well, let's get into it, my friend. Let's go with it.
So, the first thing we need to do is we got to look at the real estate. We got to determine the fair market values for each piece of real estate. What you paid for it is irrelevant when considering net worth. We have to use the market value.
Got it.
And the value of the real estate alone will overstate your net worth. You have to consider the loans against each property. So you deduct the balance owing on any mortgage against the fair value for the property. And we also got to deduct any lines of credit secured by the real estate. Then we're left with the equity in the real estate, and this is added to your net worth. So our man Kanye, he bought a house in the Hidden Hills of Southern California in 2014 for $20 million.
Okay.
Now, normally, Clay, I'd say we need to get a property like that appraised to get the fair value.
Okay.
However, in Kanye's case, his mother-in-law, Kris Jenner, has already valued it at $60 million on Twitter 4 years later. Clay, I don't know about you, but if my mother-in-law values one of my properties on Twitter for a 300% return 4 years later, that's the value.
It sounds
that's just
legit
the
to
value
me.
I'm going with. If Ford is insisting on appraisal, that's basically like saying Forbes is anti-family.
This, you know what? You have some,
This just in.
you have some hot takes this morning, and who am I to argue with you? So you're saying you're gonna say because Kanye's mother-in-law says that the house they bought for $20 million is now worth $60 million, you're gonna go with it because you don't want to argue with the mother-in-law.
That's right. It's on Twitter, Clay. We can't argue with the mother-in-law.
Okay,
on Twitter.
I'll go. I'll go with you down
Forbes
the
is
strip to
anti-family.
Crazy Town. Okay, let's continue, my friend.
And then he's got 2 different ranches in Wyoming. They're each worth $14 million each. He paid for them. And he's also got another condo in Miami, also worth $14 million. I don't know. There's something about the $14 million. He just keeps going with it. And although Kanye hasn't called me back yet to confirm the mortgages on these properties, I've seen multiple episodes of $1 Million Listings. So based on that alone, I think we can assume that these real estate purchases were all cash, no financing. Thus, the combined equity in these 4 properties is $102 million.
Got it. Okay. Now let's get into investment accounts. Talk to us about investment accounts.
So the investment accounts, again here, Clay, we need to look at the fair market value. What you invested is irrelevant. Clay, Kanye's not calling back again, so I had to make some reasonable estimates here. He's on record saying that he's thinking about changing his name to the Christian genius billionaire Kanye West. And I figure anyone who's serious enough to change their name to include the word billionaire is probably maxing out their 401k and Roth IRA accounts. Probably since he got his big break for Rockefeller Records in the year 2000.
Got it. Okay.
And he did open a string of Fatburger franchises starting in 2008. The Fatburger venture eventually failed and was shut down in 2011. I have it on good authority, Clay. I heard he wasn't holding the morning huddles. He wasn't doing group interviews, and he wasn't holding people accountable to the checklist. So the business failed.
Are you being serious? Hey, listen, you're bringing some good Canadian heat today, but I want to ask you, are you being serious? He did open up a Fatburger franchise?
Fatburger franchises in 2008 to 2011. This really happened.
How many did he have? Do you know?
I don't. I think it was like 3 or 4 of them.
Okay. All right, this just in. Okay, let's continue, my friend. You're taking us down to Crazy Town. I'm going with you.
So I think he burned through his 401k and Roth IRA accounts during that time. However, immediately after the business venture went south, he started recontributing. I think it's safe to assume that if Warren Buffett can get 18% return historically, so could Kanye. So I estimate his 401k and Roth IRA accounts to be about $1 million. That would bring our running total for Mr. Kanye up to $103 million. Okay,
continue, my friend. Continue. I don't want to derail this thing. We don't have any socialists available to derail the train this morning. Continue.
So then we got to look at the cash in the bank, and we recommend that people have at least 2 months worth of income saved in cash.
Okay.
And Kanye made $150 million in 2019, and he takes his finances very seriously. So I think we can assume he has 2 months worth of finances, or $25 million in a bank, and that would put our running total at $128 million.
Okay, continue, my friend.
Then we're going to look at the vehicles. Again, we have to look at the fair value of the vehicles minus the loan amounts. Unfortunately, vehicles depreciate far faster than most other assets. From what I can tell, Kanye has about 20 different luxury cars, from Lambos to G-Wagons, each with costs well into the 6 figures. However, these things depreciate significantly. So if we take 20 times 100,000, we get $2 million. Now, I'm going to make a special allowance for the Bugatti. I'm sure there's some, Persian prince out there who will purchase it all by itself. And from what I understand, that thing could go for as much as $2 million itself. That will put the cars at $4 million and the running total at $132.
Okay, so we're up to $132 million at this point.
That's right.
Okay, continue.
Then we're going to go with personal effects, Clay. This is, items such as clothes, electronics, jewelry, artwork, ATVs, boats. Most people, Clay, here are going to dramatically overestimate the value of these personal effects because we look personally at what it would cost to replace them. However, most items in this category would sell for 10 cents on the dollar in a liquidation situation. Now, Kanye has more style than us. He's always wearing these fancy chains. He's got artwork in his house and a bunch of ATVs on the ranch.
Okay.
I'm going to assign $5 million value for those things, and that would bring us up to $137 million.
A little fun factoid for the listeners out there. I've got at least $400 of random crap I bought from a Hobby Lobby nailed to my door, there, the bathroom door. So you said 10 cents on the dollar if we were to liquidate. So I have about $4 of crap hanging on my bathroom door. Okay, continue, my friend.
Then we're going to look at the other loans. This is where we deduct things like unsecured lines of credit. These are credit lines not attached to real estate. I think Kanye has all these paid off. He's likely carrying around stacks of hundreds. So we also deduct things here like family loans or student loans. He took painting at the Chicago Academy of Art and switched to English at Chicago State University. He only went to school for a year, dropped out at the age of 20. It takes an average of 19 years to pay off student debt. He's 42 now, so he's probably got those student loans knocked out a few years ago, I think.
That's a safe assumption.
Yeah. It's at this point, I would recommend for the listeners out there to do a credit search on yourself. Most business owners, they get busy, and it's not uncommon for business owners to end up with amounts owing they didn't know about showing up on their credit report. Sometimes they're fraudulent amounts. Sometimes they're just things that people have forgotten about. And I know Kanye likes to develop properties, and because that, he's not sent me he hasn't sent me his credit report yet. I'm just going to go ahead and assume he owes $1,000 on one of those Home Depot don't pay for 24 month specials that he signed up for at the entrance of the hardware store.
Absolutely.
And that would bring his net worth down to $136,999,000.
There are no rocks, no stones uncovered this morning. You are really on fire. Continue.
So, we have to deduct any taxes you owe at this point. And unlike R. Kelly, who owed about $5 million in back taxes a while back, I hear Kanye is up to date.
Hey, real quick, anytime that you can talk about R. Kelly, make sure you don't. All right, keep going.
Unless you're hiding in a closet.
Oh man, yeah, R. Kelly's got some things going on. Continue, my friend.
So then we get to the business, Clay. This is where most people, they're going to overestimate the value of their business. They look at public companies, they're valued at 15 times earnings or so. Most small businesses have a much higher degree of risk. One bad break and they can get completely wiped off the map. And that's why most small businesses, they'll sell for 3 to 5 times normalized earnings. And most of the times normalized earnings are less than the earnings on the financial statements, because most of the time normalizing earnings involves deducting a fair value salary for the owner, who's often doing the work of 2 or 3 people. Kanye's somewhere between a small business and a public company. He's got $1.5 billion in revenue. He's not going to get a valuation based on 15 times earnings like a public company, but it's conceivable that he'd get more than 5 times earnings for his company. And I'm going to have to make some assumptions here, Clay, and I caution everybody that I'm a white Canadian trying to interpret hip-hop slang here.
Yes.
But Kanye said he had an $890 million receipt, one receipt. And I hear receipt, and I think about the $240 receipt for the fancy steakhouse here in town that Sandra and I just went to. But I don't know about you, Clay. I've never gotten a single receipt for $890 million at the steakhouse.
I have not at this point. But if you stay there long enough, you might.
I'm not living large like Kanye's bottle service lifestyle, but I don't think he's talking about a conventional receipt. I think that's hip-hop slang for a professional business valuation.
Okay.
And unlike the house, that the mother-in-law did not give this valuation on Twitter, so I'm going to assume the valuation was done by a professional. So valuing his business at $890 million, it's not that far-fetched. Although I haven't seen any audited financial statements. Kanye at this point, from all accounts, he seems like a good Christian doing $1.5 billion in revenue. And by comparison, Clay, he's in the apparel business. Nike is doing $36 billion in revenue. Nike operates at roughly a 10% profit margin, and they're trading for an astounding 36 times earnings. Now, Kanye's doing $1.5 billion. If he operates at that same 10% profit margin as Nike, he can make $150 million from that business, and a valuation of $890 million. That's roughly 6 times earnings. That's above the 3 to 5 times earnings most small businesses are going to get, but it's far below the 36 times earning that Nike is currently selling for. So $890 million is not that far out of the question. So if we take the $890 million, we add it to the rest of his net worth, we get a net worth of $1,026,999,000, and as soon as he gets that Home Depot loan cleared up, we can round it up to $1,027,000,000.
You are absolutely blowing my mind, and I'm gonna unpack this because I want to make sure the listeners out there understand why you and I have decided to focus on this. Because yeah, it's kind of fun to speculate about the net worth of Kanye West, but you have a lot of really good stuff that I want to unpack here. So first off, you're saying that Nike does how much revenue per year? Nike
Nike is about $36 billion in revenue.
So Nike does $36 billion in revenue at roughly a 10% profit margin. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. Yeah.
And you're saying that they're valued at 36 times the total revenue or the profit?
They're valued at 36 times earnings, so 36 times the profit. It's a little bit crazy if you ask me an evaluation at this point, but that's what it is.
So their profit per year is how much at Nike?
Nike's profit per year is between 3 and 4 billion, 10%, so 3.6, let's call it roughly.
Okay, and then their value, they're saying that the profits times 36 is what they're worth?
That's right.
So let's break this down for the average small business owner. Let's say that you are a owner of a haircut business, which I am, okay? And let's say that your business does about $3 million of revenue per year at about a 20% profit margin. How would you go about determining the value of that business as a CPA? How would you do it?
So if you have, a $3 million in revenue, you got a 20% profit margin. The first thing you have to do in a small business is you have to normalize those earnings. Unlike Nike, where we can look at the earnings on the financial statement, the small business earnings, they can be manipulated heavily. Mostly the business owner can be putting in incredible amounts of effort that aren't valued fairly. So we have to normalize those earnings. So let's say, if you have, $3 million in revenue and you're operating at a 20% profit margin, $600,000, maybe it would cost an extra $100,000 to replace the owner in that business because they're working crazy amounts of hours and they got a tremendous amount of experience, right?
Got it.
So we normalize that down from $600,000.
And let's be fair, because I want to make this as real as possible. For Elephant in the Room, I did put in a ton of effort to build it. Now, my personal efforts, I'd say about 6 hours a week I spend in the company. Some weeks more, some weeks less. We'll just say 6 hours a week at this point.
Yeah, it can go the other way too, Clay. Like sometimes the business owner is taking out a couple $100,000 and they're not showing up anymore. I mean that it can go both ways in the normalizing the earnings factor.
So, and again, just being clear I just make this very specific. I pay myself $96,000 a year. So $96,000 a year is what I pay myself. I work 6 hours a week. How can I figure out how much the company's worth?
So if you have $96,000, you probably have to hire another manager. Your 6 hours a week is not a lot of time, but you have a tremendous amount of experience doing it. So we take that and maybe we add another, full-time regular wage worker. Maybe it's, $40,000 or something. Yep. So we would add back your 96 and then we would deduct another 40.
Okay. And then how do you figure out what it's worth?
Then we would normally, make an assumption for how much tax you're going to have to pay in that business. So we'd apply the tax rate that the person who's going to acquire it is going to have to pay on that income.
Yep.
And then we're going to multiply that number somewhere between 3 and 5, depending on how much they want this business, some other risk factors that are involved to get, what we're willing to pay for this thing.
And what do you think? So what do you think it's worth conservatively? If you were sitting down with a client doing $3 million a year of revenue, 20% profit, the owner's paying themselves $96,000 a year. They work 6 hours a week. How much would you value it at?
So we're at $600,000 in profit,
yep.
And then you're at $96,000 a year. And I'm going to go ahead and deduct 40 to replace you with someone else who's
yep.
going to do that job.
Got it.
So that would bring you down to $656,000 per year.
Yep.
So I'm going to take the $656,000 per year, and I'm going to times it by 0.8, which would be the after-tax earnings.
Got it.
And then I'm going to take that, and without knowing any other risk factors,
yep.
I would go right towards the low end and say the business is worth, $1.5 million.
$1.5 million.
Yes.
Okay, so let's do this again for somebody out there. Let's say we have a plumber listening. Because Breck, I think this is important because you're right now in the process of buying a building.
I am.
And at some point, I don't know that we aspire to be on the cover of Forbes and want to, be these kings of net worth. But at some point, as you're planning retirement and thinking about what to do when you're done being a chiropractor, I think we want to know what our company's worth or what we could sell it for.
Sure.
So let's go with this example. Let's say I'm a plumber out there, Josh, and I'm doing revenue of, again, let's go with $5 million a year this time. Okay, I'm a plumber. Yep. I'm doing $5 million a year of revenue. Give us kind of the equation. So $5 million a year of revenue. And again, in this particular situation, I'm making a 25% profit. How do we determine the value?
First of all, just a plumber at 25% profit might be a little bit difficult as they get to scale on those things, but we'll just go with it. So the $5 million, if I have, let's say they're doing the 25% profit. Okay. That would bring us to $1,250,000 in profit per year.
$1,250,000 a year of profit. Got it.
Yeah. We'll go the other way with this owner. We're going to say that this owner is only paying himself $100,000, but he is a very high-level HVAC technician, and this is going to cost us, $150,000 or let's say even $200,000 to replace this owner with multiple people. So he's only taking $100,000, but it's going to cost $200,000 to replace him once he's out of this thing.
Got it.
So I'm going to deduct that $200,000. And I have $1.25 million, and I'm going to add I'm going to deduct the $200,000, and I'll get $1,050,000.
Got it.
Okay. Now again, I'm going to apply a tax factor, so I'm going to look at the $1,050,000, and I'm going to times it by 0.8. So I'm basically removing 20% for taxes.
Yep.
Okay. I'm left with $840,000. And again, I don't know the risk factors in the business, but let's say on the low end, that business is going to be worth $2.5 million. And on the high end, that business is going to be worth roughly $4.2 million.
Got it. So again, if you're out there and you own a business, why is it important for you to know about what it's worth? Why is that important? Why does that matter?
Well, I mean, it can affect financing. It's also going to greatly affect your exit strategy. What is going to be actually around for you in retirement?
Now, Mr. Spurrell, are there also very different industry standards on valuations for different industries?
There are a number of industries that will be bought and sold based on revenue, particularly a lot of medical businesses. Right. If you're an optometrist or you're a dentist, for example, a lot of those will be based sheerly on the revenue itself, because one dentist can wind it up into the practice of another dentist, and a lot of the overhead, the costs can be standardized, and they can be adjusted up or down very regularly on a regular profit margin. So, for example, optometrists, a lot of optometrists in practice here in Canada, I don't know what the market rate is there in the States, but we'll sell for roughly 70% of the gross billings, and the costs are largely irrelevant.
Okay. So definitely a much lower multiple because it's personality based, and I mean, somebody can come in and do that, but at the same time they can't scale or be able to replicate quite the same way as small business.
That's right. And there could be even some other factors too. Like we'll get, businesses that have, one or two or three customers. So they have big contracts but they only have one or two or three customers. A lot of times those businesses are, even far less 3 times normalized earnings, because if one of those contracts gets canceled, this thing is worth, roughly nothing. Right?
So factored for the higher risk.
That's right. Yeah.
I have found that most people who sell their company to somebody, if a business owner out there sells their company, usually the buyer of the business is going to come to the table with a small business loan. Now, I'm not sure what you guys do in Canada, but the United States, we call it the United States Small Business Administration Loan. It's an SBA loan. So usually when somebody goes out there to buy a business, usually they're going to finance the purchase of the business with an SBA loan, a conforming Small Business Administration compliant loan, or they're going to use some type of bank loan, some type of commercial loan. And in order to do that, the banks have pretty rigid standards that they're going to adhere to when it relates to lending money. So if I was going to buy Dr. Breck's chiropractic business today, and I'm just making up numbers, but let's say that it was doing $1 million a year of profit, most small business, most banks in America would say, it doesn't matter what you guys have agreed to on a sales price. We're not comfortable with lending you more than, or valuing the company at more than 2.5 times the annual profits, period.
Right.
That's just sort of like a U.S. thing. Spurrell, do you have a similar guidelines, or have you seen similar things to be true in Canada?
It's probably even more challenging in Canada to get the financing to take out the businesses, because our equivalent small business loan that's backed by the federal government, they won't issue it for what they call soft assets. So when you're purchasing the goodwill of a business and the customer list of a business, you're not actually going to be able to use that product for that circumstance. So it's really only there for new assets. So you're buying the equipment or leasehold improvements for off a business owner. You can't use it to acquire the customer list.
Well, I've heard, this is interesting, but President Trump, it's all over the map what his net worth is. I've seen Forbes, report it consistently at about $3 billion, but I've heard Trump speak of his net worth in significantly higher terms. Whereas you look at Bloomberg, his net worth reported by Forbes is significantly higher than President Trump's. Michael Bloomberg right now is listed as having a net worth of $63.7 billion. Trump credits a lot of his net worth to the soft value of his name. He thinks that his name and his brand means that he's worth significantly more than Forbes reports. How could it be that President Trump believes that his net worth is significantly higher than that which Forbes believes his net worth to be at? How come Forbes puts his net worth at a much lower rate than he believes his net worth is?
Well, I've seen all sorts of crazy valuations. I've seen valuations where, they'll go through something where we're going through here. We do like a 3 to 5 times multiple on the earnings of a business. And then they start adding in these esoteric, weird ideas for, there's a value for particular staff members, or they add in the value of the brand. But I mean, if the brand was worth that much, wouldn't it generate profits at the end of the day? Ultimately, that's what it boils down to.
So if you're out there today and you're trying to figure out your net worth, if you're trying to do that, give us the equation. How do we figure out our net worth if we want to do that? Just make it simple for us. Break it down. If somebody out there today says, I want to figure out my net worth, how do we do it?
So step one, it's the real estate, the fair market value of the real estate less any amounts owing on them. So the equity in the property.
Okay, the fair market value of the real estate minus what?
Any loans, so any mortgages or lines of credit against the property.
So give me an example.
You have a house, it's worth $500,000, and there is a mortgage on it for $200,000, and there's also a line of credit with a balance of $100,000. We would have equity in that property of $200,000. That would add $200,000 to our net worth.
Okay, got it. Okay, now what's next?
Then we're going to look at the investment accounts that you have. So the fair market value of any investment accounts.
Oh, the fair market value of your investment accounts. Got it. What's next?
Then we're going to add the cash in the bank.
Okay. The cash in the bank, yep.
Then we're usually going to itemize the fair market value of the vehicles and any loans against those vehicles. And we usually itemize that, like when the bank usually asks for the fair market value report, a lot of times they're going to want specifics on the vehicles, because most people are going to grossly overestimate the value of their vehicles.
Have you found that most people, when you sit down with them to help them figure out their net worth, do they tend to overestimate their net worth or underestimate their net worth?
They usually forget entire, loan balances. So they'll look at the vehicle, and the vehicle is worth $30,000, but they forget that they still owe $28,000 on it.
Okay. Continue, please.
Then we're going to look at personal effects, and there is a value to personal effects. It's just usually far lower than what you paid for it. 10 cents on the dollar is kind of a rule you can throw out there.
10 cents on the dollar.
I mean, my shoe collection is definitely worth more than 10 cents on the dollar. Come on.
Those are some hot effects.
You got a strong shoe game over there, Jason. I know they're worth more than 10 cents a piece.
Okay, now Spurrell, so we determined the fair market value of the real estate minus any loans. 2, we determine the fair market value of the investment accounts. 3, we add in the cash in the bank. 4, we determine the fair market value of our vehicles. 5, we determine the value of personal effects. Anything else?
Then we're going to look at other loans. There's always other loans that are usually not, I shouldn't say always, but there's other loans that can be not attached to any particular asset, like student debt, unsecured lines of credit, debt consolidation loans, credit cards. This is where we have to look at that.
Okay. And then after that, you just add it all up. You add up all the, all the assets minus all the liabilities, and there you go.
Your taxes.
Oh.
Do not forget about taxes. People have back taxes owing. They have profits from last year. They haven't paid the taxes on those. So taxes is next.
Taxes. Okay, nice. Okay. Now, and then after that, is that how we determine our net worth?
For the average person is done there, but the business owner now has to add in the value of their business.
Okay, so we add in the value of the business. Add in the value of the business. Okay. And that's how you determine your net worth. Is that correct, my friend?
That's right.
Now, I know we have an opportunity here to ask you some questions. I know Dr. Breck probably has a question or two. I know Jason probably has a question or two. And Nathan with Complete Carpet. So we'll go around the horn here. Nathan, I think you had a question or a hot take for Josh Spurrell.
Yes, Josh. I want to go back to the plumber example because I believe Clay forgot to mention the name of the plumber. And I was, Mario Forbes is kind of like the business Bible, and I did a quick search here, and it said that Mario is actually worth almost $1 billion, and his twin brother Luigi has had a lot of success also. And does that factor into the business evaluation? Is it just the cost of that business, or do you think the people running it maybe have a little name cred?
Certainly some name recognition there. So, again, though, you can't sell the name recognition as a net. But people try to do that all the time, though. I see this all the time where you'll see people that are doctors, dentists, lawyers, and they say, Clay, could you help me sell my company? I say, absolutely. And we start going into the process of negotiating with the buyer. And I have found, and Spurrell, maybe you disagree, I have found that most business owners overestimate the value of their company by usually 5 or 10 times too high. Have you found this to be the same thing, Spurrell?
Yeah, that's not uncommon. So I'll get a lot of people who, they're coming to me to buy these businesses, and it's listed at, say, it's listed at $1 million, and I look at it and I think this thing is worth, $200,000, and I tell them, go offer $200,000, and they think that I'm crazy, but I tell them, go offer $200,000 because no one else is probably going to offer that $1 million that they're asked for. And after another year of fighting with their spouse and realizing that they hate that business that they're in, they'll call you back and they'll sell it for what it's actually worth.
Dr. Breck, any final questions for Spurrell as it relates to determining how much your business is worth and or your net worth?
Yeah, is the right time to evaluate your business when you're ready to sell it? Say you're ready to make your exit strategy, you're 60, 65 years old. Is that the right time, or would it be better to learn that earlier on, along the way?
You want to learn that earlier on. One of the best ways to actually exit the business is the employees who are working in the business. So, when you are looking at that when you're 65 years old, if you haven't, put that team in place who, some of them might have the potential that they want to take on ownership of the business, it could be too late then. Now you're looking for an outside buyer who may or may not, have the same comfort with the business as someone inside would.
So do you think someone who knows the true value of their business might make different decisions along the way, understanding those numbers better?
100%. Yeah, I think they will make better decisions if they're more aware of the value of their business.
And so how often do you recommend someone take a look at their current value of their business? Is that something you should do annually, every 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, actually on our financial plans that we issue our entrepreneurs, we actually give them a high level, not a detailed valuation, but a high level valuation every single year.
Very good.
I would just encourage you, if you're out there today, what are you supposed to do with this information? I would invest the time needed to figure out your net worth and what your business is worth, because I have throughout my career, sold businesses, and I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to be real. You're only going to get about 2.5 to 3 times your profit. So if you're out there today and you make $500,000 a year of profit, that's a great business. But if you sell it, you're only going to get $1 million for it, maybe $1.5 million. So you really just got 2 years of income in exchange for the 30 years it's taking you to build something, or the 20 years, the 10 years. So it's better to create a business that creates time freedom and financial freedom, and to own it and hold it. In my opinion, from my experience, that's the move. Own it and hold it. Jason, do you have any questions, any final questions about determining your net worth or your personal, the value of your company?
Yeah. Well, it's a two-part question. So the first one is, Josh, you did an amazing amount of research on Kanye. Hats off to you for that. But in all of that, I have to ask, what's your favorite Kanye West song?
Oh, boy.
I researched his assets and his liabilities, and I can't name a single Kanye West.
You're painting him into a Canadian corner.
Well, I will.
Why would you do that?
I will help you out. In order to further anger any of the other socialists, what you want to do is get in that Raptor today, download Kanye West's Mercy, put your speakers on full blast, and just drive around anywhere they are, because it'll just piss them right off.
Mercy?
Oh yeah,
That's the official song?
that's a good one.
Okay, Mercy's the official.
It's the braggadocious song. It's got a lot of attitude. It's named after the Lamborghini Murcielago.
No, oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Shouts out to Steve.
I want to get Steve on the mic here for a second. Steve's joining us here with Total Lending Concepts, and Steve is a mortgage banker. And Steve, we're joined here with Josh Spurrell, the Canadian CPA up there from Edmonton. By the way, what is the temperature like today in Edmonton?
Well, Clay, I haven't ventured outside yet, so I have to look it up for you here. So
Let me see here. The temperature in Edmonton right now, Edmonton, Canada.
5 degrees.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
-9.
-9.
Wow. Oh.
And you're saying literally the socialists right now are blocking, they're blockading the railroads?
Oh yeah,
This is not policy. This is like people, the human person themselves standing on the railway.
Run them,
yes.
Run them over.
That was my thought, too.
Yeah, we're all in agreement, Steve.
Hey, you kill 2 of them, the rest of them will move.
Yeah. After the first one, they're all second guessing this idea.
It's the same as when you spank one of the kids in front of the other kids. Everyone straightens up.
So, Spurrell, I have a quick question. Going back to Kanye, is there any reason or need to factor in his wife in any of this, or is that an assumption just with the prenup agreement?
Yeah, it was one where I actually considered it, like, how much does she own of both of those properties? So, I mean, both of those properties could conceivably, if we could cut them in half, right, on the valuation and say half is attributable to her. Most of the time, I find when the banks are determining, at least in Canada here, when they're actually determining the credit worthiness of, a borrower, they're actually going to look at the household net worth. And not really spend too much time, determining who has which component of it.
I would say that's not really a factor, because if you remember the classic Kanye West line, "If you ain't no punk, holler we want prenup." So he has it. He's got it. He's protected.
There it is. Now, Steve, you work with a lot of people to help them get a mortgage.
Yep.
And what percentage of the time do people overestimate their net worth when applying for a loan?
Oh, yeah.
No, seriously, I want to know.
Well, it's usually self-employed people. They'll say things like, "Oh, well, I make like $400,000 a year, but on my taxes, it's it's different."
How so?
Well, then I get their taxes, and they lost $17,000 last year. So, and actually, their top line income wasn't anywhere near 400, but I don't.
But they tell themselves this, and they tell others this.
Yeah, it's the same as when you ask a loan officer how many loans they close a month. Well, one time back in 2007, they closed 10.
Or you ask a guy in the gym how much he can bench press.
Yeah, one time he lifted 190. So
or you ask a pastor how many people attend his church.
Oh, thousands.
I remember one time we were at a conference.
You count the online people.
Dude, we went one time we were at a conference, and there was a pastor who attended. I won't mention where he's from. It's not a client, but he says, "Hey, I've got a church, up in yada yada." And I said, "Well, how many people go there?" And he tells me a number, about 4,000. Now, 4,000, just so we're clear, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a good sized church.
And I wasn't trying to catch it; was just me and him talking one-on-one. I just wanted to know. I said, "How do you determine that?" And he says, "Well, every Sunday we have about 1,000 people."
No repeat.
No, I'm serious. I'm serious. And so he was adding up how many people attend, each week, just adding 4,000 people a month. But I'm like, do you have some of the same people attending each Sunday?
Never. They never come back for a second sermon.
So, Steve, I want to make this very actionable for the listeners out there, because I think somebody out there needs to understand this. When you are trying to get somebody qualified for a mortgage, how much can somebody qualify for? Let's say you're self-employed and you have $100,000 a year of actual income that you pay taxes on.
Right.
You actually $100,000 a year of actual income that comes in. How much of a mortgage can you qualify for? What's kind of the rule?
Assuming you have no other debt, about 35% of that monthly income. So if you take 100,000 divided by 12, that's your monthly income, and usually you can take about 35% of that income for a mortgage payment. So
we're
that would be like $8,333 a month.
$8,300. So $8,300.
So that would be like a hold on a second
per month, and you're saying that's going to give them how much? What percentage?
$2,900, 35%. So you could qualify for about a $2,900 mortgage.
Times 35% equals how much of a mortgage per month?
$2,916. Now,
$2,000.
if you have other debt, which a lot of people do, so if you're one of those people that's got the $900 Mercedes lease payment or something else, that'll factor in it too.
But let's pretend they don't, just so I can be really simple.
Yep.
Let's just say that you qualified for $2,916 a month. How much of how big of a property is that at this point? What's the value of that property you could get for $2,916 per month in America today?
In
well,
Tulsa?
if you put 5% down, which is pretty normal and pretty minimum, most people are going to put at least 5% down. You're going to have to. Then including like insurance and taxes and everything.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm getting there. Including taxes.
Yep.
And I'll do an estimate for insurance. It puts the payment. I did pretty good there. $2,837.49 would be based on a $450,000 house on a 30-year fixed with $22,500 down, which is 5%. So that was pretty close. So $450 would be probably your max if you made $83.33 a month and had no other debt.
This makes sense.
Now, since you have no other debt, if I had to, I can push that. Like up to 40%. Because it's your only debt, so I don't have to worry about your back end ratio, so I can kind of push the rest up. So if you were going crazy, you're like, Steve, I really want to go to 500. I would probably pre-approve you to 500 if you didn't have any other debt.
I don't know why you have to talk about my back end ratio.
Oh, right.
Oh, wow. Now I want to ask you this. I
like
want to ask you this, Steve, and I want to ask you this, Spurrell. How much of a mortgage should somebody get? I'm not asking how much can they qualify for. I'm saying if somebody, has an income of $8,333 per month, Spurrell, what do you recommend? What percentage of somebody's monthly income should they be spending on their housing if they're wanting to get ahead financially?
Cool. Steve's going to qualify for 35 or 40%, but I think if you can keep that number to 30%, it might be a little easier when unforeseen items pop up.
Most people, when I tell them what they qualify for, go, "Oh my gosh, no way! Oh man, that is way too high. There's no. Are you kidding me? I qualify for a $2,900 payment. There's no way. I don't want to go over like $1,700.
Got it.
So that's like usually how it goes. When you have maybe a spouse who has bad credit that can't be on the loan that has income that you can't include, or you have, like in the case we just talked about, a self-employed person who probably makes a lot more than what their tax return actually shows.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
Well, it just means when someone's self-employed, a W-2 employee, if they W-2 they get a W-2 for $400,000, that's what they make, and they pay taxes on $400,000. But if you're self-employed and you file a Schedule C, or maybe you have a corporate return, you have a 1065 and an 1120S, and you essentially defer some of that income because you get to write off your expenses that are associated with the business that you do. So you might make that same $400,000, but you might have $30,000 in car and truck expenses. You might have mileage you're writing off. You might have office supplies, meals and entertainment, travel that are associated with your job that you're taking off of your gross income. And for qualifying purposes, I have to use your net income.
So, Spurrell, we have time for just a few more questions because I want to make sure all the listeners are getting this. We've covered how to determine how much your business is worth, how to determine your net worth, and how to determine how much of a mortgage you qualify for. But what I want to ask you is, if I'm out there listening today and I want to, at some point in my life, be worth $1 million. Let's say I'm listening right now and I'm 35 years old and I want to be worth $1 million at some point in my life. Give us practical tips for the kind of crap we should not be spending our money on if we want to eventually become a millionaire on paper.
Well, I think the cars can be a big one. You know, people get, you know, these huge car payments is one that I see. So a lot of times when I'm doing this net worth calculation with people, they're underwater in their cars and they've rolled the previous balance from the old loan from the vehicle into a new one, and they got a car that's worth $30,000 and they own $50,000 on it. So that's one that I see quite commonly. Anytime we're doing any sort of purchases for consumer goods, you know, they're buying TVs on credit cards, things like that. They just don't make a lot of sense in my world when you start looking at it. So those would be, you know, two big ones that I think people have. They have, you know, ridiculous financing on vehicles or financing for any sort of consumer goods would be ones to avoid.
My tips for anybody out there who wants to build up your net worth would be the following. 1, always buy everything from people that have to sell them. Always buy everything from somebody who has to sell them. So people who are getting divorced turn out to be a great source when you're looking to buy real estate. You want to run around asking people, hey, you know someone getting divorced? You know somebody? You know somebody has their marriage on the rocks? I mean, you kind of want almost like the vultures that circle around. You want to hang out with couples that are right on the edge of divorce. You can sense the tension in the room. Because the people, Steve, is this not true?
Yeah.
People that are having a divorce are a great source to buy real estate from.
And then you have to make sure you get some alone time with each of them, and you go, God, doesn't he just piss me off? I mean,
I'm not encouraging you to.
You should divorce him.
I hate to mention this is true, or you could buy fitness equipment from a gym that just failed. You could buy DJ equipment from a disc jockey that just went out of business. You could buy camera equipment from a failing photographer. Tip number 2. I would recommend that you always live below your means.
What?
So for me,
get out of here.
I believe that you should spend 10% of your income on your housing. That's me. But if you want to spend 35%, that's fine. I'm just telling you that's what I would do.
John says dress for the job you want, not the one you have. And I say drive a car for the job you want, not the one you have.
Also,
and live in a palace for the whole
Also, I would recommend that you never buy a new vehicle. I always drive
blasphemy
used vehicles, and I keep these vehicles well past the time other people would sell them.
Oh, yeah, well past.
Yes.
Like, by the way, I wanted to tell you the taillight is out on the
Hummer?
On the Hummer there, buddy.
Front light.
Luckily, you only drive 27 miles an hour wherever you are, so you might get pulled over, but the cop
I gotta get
no
it
problem
fixed this
catching
week.
you.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is, if you're out there today, though, I would encourage you to live below your means if you want to get ahead financially. But hopefully on today's show, you understand how to determine your net worth. All right. Hopefully you understand how to determine what your business is worth and how to determine how much of a mortgage you qualify for. Josh Spurrell, I appreciate you so much for not being on the railroad tracks protesting the shipment of goods via the Canadian railways. And I appreciate you for being one of the few socialists up there, my friend. What percentage of Edmonton is a socialist commie?
The percentage in Edmonton can be a little bit high, but you know, the Conservatives won the popular vote in the last federal election. Just the way our electoral system, you know, shapes out in terms of the number of ridings, they lost the election. So it's not as bad as you think, and there's a lot of polarity here on that issue.
I'll tell you this: you look better than a lot of people think you do. I mean, if people have not Google searched Josh Spurrell right now, you really should, because it's a beautiful thing. It's just like, you know, Niagara Falls is much more overwhelming in person than you think it might be, but when you see it in person, it's just whoa. And when you look up Josh Spurrell, it's a whoa moment. What's your website, so all the listeners out there can go to your website and pontificate about your Canadian glory?
www.spurrell, SPURRELL.ca.
Why are you doing that whole .ca thing?
That's what we do here in Canada, and I think someone actually has the .com. I'm not sure what they do.
Okay, so Spurrell, it's SPURRELL.
.ca. Yep.
.ca. Check him out. That's Josh Spurrell. Josh Spurrell, thank you for joining us up there from Canada. You, my friend, are at any moment, you could become a great American. All you have to do is denounce your citizenship and move on down here.
I'll keep in mind.
Okay, that's just it. Have a great day, my friend.
Thanks, guys.
Take care. And we like to end each and every show with a boom. Steve, are you psychologically prepared to end with a boom?
I'm ready.
Dr. Breck, are you prepared to end with a boom?
I'm so ready.
Jason Beasley, are you prepared?
Always.
Let's end this thing with a boom. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom. What if you could gain access to download each and every book that I've ever written for free?
Well, that'd be terrible because I don't like you.
Okay, we're making a big assumption here. But assuming that you do like me and you like the Thrive Time Show, you can now go to thrivetimeshow.com/free-resources. That's thrivetimeshow.com/free-resources to download each and every book that I've ever written for free. You can download the ebook version of each and every book that I've ever written for free.
Clay, I just want to chime in here real quick. I don't like you or capitalism. I feel like we should all get free stuff.
Well, I am in the process of explaining where you can get free stuff. And you can now also download all the helpful infographics. There's infographics on Firing 101, the perfect hiring system, the principles from Ray Dalio, Internet Marketing 101, the Lead Bin Management System, Managing Humans 101, Logo Creation 101, Why Google Loves WordPress, Time Management 101. We also have an incredible infographic about the importance of calling your leads often, because the average person no longer answers their phone unless they are called multiple times and unless they receive a text from you. We also have the importance of File Nomenclature 101, Sales Lead Conversion 101, and much, much more. And it's all available for you to download for free right now by going to thrivetimeshow.com.
Are you suggesting that I should have to move my body?
Yes.
This is for free. Isn't there a way you could just beam it? I mean, why do I have to move my body?
Because
typing causes me anxiety.
Whatever.
Which is why I would never go to thrivetimeshow.com.
Come on.
/free-resources. I would never go to thrivetimeshow.com /free-resources.
All right, let me clarify. If you have the capacity to move your fingers, go to thrivetimeshow.com /free-resources to download an ebook version of every single Amazon best-selling book I've ever written and all the infographics that have the power to change your life.